Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm going to present our research findings on investigation of plant and equipment operators in building construction projects in Sri Lanka. And this study was conducted by NNGH Sandakomika, myself, and KGAS Vaidyasekara, KI Rithmika, and AN Konara. So starting with the background study, a variety of stakeholders is involved in construction projects. So the construction industry is heavily depending on human resources and low-skilled employees, which is accounting for the majority of the construction workers. So therefore, the construction industry can be identified as a labor-intensive sector. When the technology is being developed, the construction industry welcomes its features to assist the construction process and its stakeholders. Accordingly, there are many different types of plant and equipments that are operating or that are being processed within the construction industry to carry out specific jobs and serves a particular function. So these plant and equipment are supporting in maximizing the economy, quality, safety, speed, and timely completion of the building projects. Therefore, the employee category of plant and equipment operators are playing a very vital role in construction industry. Different types of plant and equipments are utilized in construction projects based on the size of the work and the economy of the project. So since each operator handles a particular or specific plant or equipment, these operators must encompass a different set of skills within them. So the quality and the productivity in the construction industry is getting deteriorated if these skills are not encompassed properly by them. So particularly, other skilled occupants cannot merely undertake the responsibility of the plant and equipment operators, since there should be a particular practice and training towards operating these different plant and equipments. So this is a brief introduction to the plant and equipment operators in construction industry. And then I move to why did we focus on these plant and equipment operators in our study. So moving to the problem statement of the study, here first we have concerned on the skills of construction occupants, since there is a particular shortage of skilled workers in construction industry, and it has been a critical concern all over the world. Nevertheless, issues of shortage of human capital and skill mismatching issues are very typical even in the Sri Lankan construction industry. And then we particularly focused on plant and equipment operators in the construction industry. Why was that? The employee category of plant and equipment operators plays a vital role in construction industry with the technological advancements. So moreover, the supply of these plant and equipment operators for construction industry is also lagging in terms of the number and the quality of the plant and equipment operators. So referring to the Sri Lankan context, it is obvious that the absence of required skills and competencies among occupants are causing the lower quality of the construction workers. These skill shortages can be typically identified in the category of plant and equipment operators in Sri Lankan building construction industry. With that concern, the research gap for the study has been identified and referred as plant and equipment operators in building construction projects in Sri Lanka, as there is no significant research which has been undertaken separately for this occupation category. So with that note, the aim of the study was identified as to investigate the plant and equipment operators in building construction projects in Sri Lanka. And in order to facilitate the aim, we have developed three objectives: develop an occupational map for the plant and equipment operators, identify required skills for the plant and equipment operators, and finally to investigate the issues in occupational category of plant and equipment operators in building construction projects in Sri Lanka. So when facing how we developed our research process for this study, initially we have identified the research problem and then established the aim and objectives for the study to wrap that research problem. Then the existing journals, conference proceeding, books and other literature sources were reviewed to build the literature synthesis. Then we have selected the qualitative research approach for the study, as it allows to investigate the ideas, experiments, beliefs, and attitudes of a specific group of people, and that we wanted to do an in-depth investigation for the selected context. So accordingly, the survey has been adopted as the suitable research strategy, where semi-structured interview has been incorporated as the data collection technique under the survey strategy. So the semi-structured interview guideline was developed to collect information throughout the data collection interviews, and the findings of the semi-structured interviews were analyzed using the manual content analysis approach. And based on the findings, finally, we drafted the conclusion and recommendation for the study. Moving to the respondents' detail, we conducted six interviews, and the profile of each respondent is shown in this table. And the interviewees for this study were selected based on their experiences in recruiting and effective management of plant and equipment operators working in the construction site by following the purposive sampling technique. And it allows the researchers to rely on their own judgments and when choosing the members of the population to participate in their surveys. So starting with the literature review of this study, we mainly focused on 4 points like types of plant and equipment operators, importance of plant and equipment operators and the workplace skills required by them, and issues in plant and equipment operators. So when consider the types of plant and equipment operators, we mainly identified 2 different categories, namely movable and immovable plant and equipment operators. And as you can see in this slide, under movable plant and equipment operators, we identified excavators, backhoes, loaders operators. And as for the immovable plant and equipment operators, we identified asphalt plant, batching plant, and crusher plant operators. So when consider the importance of plant and equipment operators, the activities involved in construction projects where the magnitude of the work is on a large scale, speedy work, and a timely completion of work with quality control, which is very vital. So in order to achieve these, the mechanization of work has to be done, where construction plant and equipment plays a very pivotal role. So accordingly, the operators of these are directly contribute to the economy, quality, safety, speed, and timely completion of the building projects. And moving to the workplace skills which are required by the plant and equipment operators, we mainly identified these 3 types of technical, generic, and finally the language and numerical skills. And under these each skill categories, we have identified different types of skills that are required for the plant and equipment operators. And moving to the issues of plant and equipment operators, there are issues in this occupant category, mainly in terms of individual and organizational context. So issues of shortage of human capital and skill mismatching were majorly identified as some typical issues, whereas some other issues were identified like fewer wage providing, and giving a very less recognition, and the negative attitudes of these occupants category likewise. So those are the issues that we identified. And moving to the research findings and analysis part, initially we intended to develop the occupational map for the plant and equipment operators in building construction projects. So basically, as we explained in the literature synthesis as well, we identified movable and immovable as 2 major categories of plant and equipment operators. So under immovable, our respondents have highlighted sand feeding machine operators, asphalt plant operators, batching plant operators, and crusher plant operators relevant to the Sri Lankan context. And moving to the movable plant and equipment operators, they have highlighted 8 subcategories, namely earth moving equipment operators, piling machine operators, lifting equipment operators, etc. And they have the respondents have highlighted many other occupants under each category of movable plant and equipment operators. With those research findings, we have developed this occupational map. And moving to the next findings, the skills and competencies expected from the plant and equipment operators were identified. So with respect to the movable and immovable plant and equipment operators. So basically, they have highlighted the necessity of the technical skills, generic skills, and language literacy and numeracy skills equally for both the movable and immovable plant and equipment operators. But one point was highlighted by some of the respondents, like as for the movable plant and equipment operators, the technical skills is very necessary, including the mechanical skills for the movable plant and equipment operators. But when it comes to the immovable plant operators, the respondents highlight that they are not, it is not necessary for them to have the mechanical skills, but technical skills are very important for them as well. But under technical skills, mechanical skills is not necessary for the immovable plant operators. With that note, the summary of the skills identified for both movable and immovable plant and equipment operators have been summarized as you can see in this slide under technical skills, generic skills, and language literacy and numeracy skills. So under technical skills, as you can see, we have identified mechanical skills, analytical skills, problem solving skills, and under generic skills, there were some documentation skills, communication skills, teamwork, punctuality, etc. And further, they have identified the importance of language skills and numeracy skills as well. So moving to the existing issues experienced with plant and equipment operators, these table in the left-hand side provide you the issues identified in the literature synthesis. And after the data collection and analysis, you can see the set of data or set of issues that we identified that can be experienced with plant and equipment operators in building construction projects in Sri Lanka. So some of the findings are lack of motivation, less experience gaining, lack of social recognition, etc. And these yellow color highlighted findings were some newly added points to the findings that we identified in the literature synthesis. Some of them are lack of reliability, unavailability of dignity, and lack of multi-skilled workers, etc. So moving to the conclusions and way forward, the plant and equipment operators were categorized under two main categories, namely fixed plant operators and movable plant and equipment operators. And accordingly, we have developed the occupational map as we described earlier. So when we refer to the skills required for the plant and equipment operators, we have identified the necessity of technical skills, generic skills, and language literacy and numeracy skills to the plant and equipment operators. And more specifically, they have highlighted the requirement of mechanical skills for the movable plant and equipment operators rather than immovable plant operators. And when it comes to the issues existing with the plant and equipment operators in Sri Lankan building construction projects, they have identified some new facts like lack of reliability, lack of multi-skilled workers, unavailability of dignity, and lack in hierarchy of promotions. Are some prominent issues relating to the plant and equipment operators. And when we consider the further research areas, we can conduct the analyzing of skill gap of the plant and equipment operators, which we are currently involving in, and proposing strategies to sharpen the skills of plant and equipment operators to overcome the existing issues in Sri Lankan building construction industry. So these are the references that we used, and thank you very much for listening to our presentation.